Hello and welcome back to Emma's Crafty Space. My name is Emma Fawcett and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in Belfast, Newtonabbey, Northern Ireland, and I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. Today I am revisiting an old favourite technique that I learnt, oh gosh, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. The first time I did it was with a suite called Jingle All the Way, so it really was a good few years ago. This one I am actually revisiting it using the new Curvy Celebrations Bundle, and I just thought I'd come on and show you how I achieved this kind of Starry Night technique. So there's a couple of old Stampin' Up products that I will be using, so hopefully if you are an old Stampin' Up customer or maybe a new one and you've acquired some older pieces of product, then hopefully you'll have this in your crafty stash, or you might be able to substitute them with something that's in your current stash. So I'll just give you a little closer look to that. Excuse all the reflections from the camera, but it's just so that you can see it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you are going to get a piece of shimmery white cardstock, and I have cut this in centimeters. It's 14.85 by 14.85, and then you're going to have this little piece, so it's basically one of our A4 cut exactly in half, and just keep this to the side, don't be doing away with that. And then I'm going to bring in, this is one of the old ink pads, it's Tempting Turquoise. So you'll notice that this is our old style of ink pads as well. I'm not using my new ones, although Tempting Turquoise is retired, but this is Tempting Turquoise, Night of Navy, and then Blackberry Bliss. And then I'm going to use these sponges. These are still current, so they're the Stampin' Up sponge. Now I've obviously cut mine into 3. So first of all, if you want to put on a pair of gloves, you can see how messy my grid paper got from doing this. But I just love this technique, and it just made me realize how much I miss doing these kind of messy kind of projects. So just to get your bearings, and if it's a new sponge, start off down low, and you're just going to go up. And obviously you're going to get that kind of rubbing sound as well, don't be worrying about that. So you're going to go up into the center and kind of let it bleed up to the top of the paper. Again, sorry, the camera's maybe going to shake a bit as well with me rubbing here. Okay, so you can see it gets smoother as you go up, and as you get more and more ink on your sponge, you don't want to see these big whirls up around here, but although we can conceal those as it goes on. So you're basically just building up your color. Okay, and just keep going with the Tempting Turquoise. You could maybe use Pear Pizzazz just as a kind of Northern Lights kind of effect. I don't know, it might work. I haven't tried it myself yet. So now I'm going to my Night of Navy, and don't freak out, it is going to look like a bit of a mess at the beginning. Just watch that your card doesn't crease on you like that, because you don't want to be having damage in the card stock. Okay, and just let that rub into the Tempting Turquoise. Go right out to the edge. Don't worry, this will all blend in. Looks a bit of a mess at the minute, but it does work. Okay, in the corner here, out to your edges. Down again. Let that bleed down into the Tempting Turquoise. The thing with the shimmery paper is there is like a kind of coating on it, so it does give you a little bit of give, you know, for blending inks in. It's obviously very good for watercolouring as well, so there is a little bit of give with it. So you can see the very extreme differences now between the Night of Navy and the Tempting Turquoise. So we just need to get that blended down now into it. Okay, so just then get to a stage where you don't need to put any more ink on, and you can just bring it down. Okay, and then we will try a bit of Blackberry Bliss. So again, I'm going to start down here and just bring it up. So that's where your purples are all coming in, and then again let it bleed down into your Tempting Turquoise. Okay, I'm going to bring a wee bit more Night and Navy down in here. Okay, so it's just really playing about with the ink and getting it to what you want it to be, not the way you're maybe going to follow in this tutorial. There really isn't a right or a wrong way to do it. I would just always start off with the light one first, because you can always build your colour, whereas if you start off dark, you can't take the colour off. Like, once the ink's on the paper, that's it. Okay, and just gradually bring that down very, very lightly. And then I'm going to go back in with Tempting Turquoise and let it just go all over it. Let it all bleed through. Okay, so it takes the lightness of the Tempting Turquoise and just blends it out to the dark. But that is pretty much it. As I say, it's quite a messy technique, but I really do like it, and I think it's very effective. Just going a wee bit more Night Navy here at the sides. Obviously some of this is going to be underneath a mount in a photo frame if you choose to mount it up into a box frame or something. So it really is up to you how far wide you want your Tempting Turquoise to bleed out. And the next step then is we're going to get water and splash it just to give us that starry night look effect. Okay, a bit more Tempting Turquoise there. So it's something you can go back and revisit just before you start to put everything on. You know, just even let it sit for a minute or two, walk away from it, come back and see then if you're happy with it, or if you want to add any more of the darker edges. So once you're happy then, and you feel that you want to maybe go to the next level, then you are just going to get a little bowl of water and you're going to dip your fingers in very, very gently and kind of flick them away and then flick them at the card. Okay, so dip in again and then flick. And you'll not see them for a wee minute or two, because once the water kind of disperses the ink, and then all of a sudden you'll just see these lighter pieces. So do it in stages. So I did those two, and then I'll leave it a minute or two. So if you want, you can give it a bit of a wave, and then you will just see that you've got lighter pieces showing. So I think I would like a bit more. So dip again, flick away, and then flick your fingers over your card. So I'm just going to let that sit now. I'm going to move this water away in case I end up spilling the whole thing all over me. And I'm going to set that to the side. And while that is all drying, I'm going to do my die cutting. So I'll move these out of the way too. Another little thing is, it might be worth your while going washing your hands in between these two stages, especially if you've managed to get ink all over you. You definitely don't want to be getting ink on this little piece as well. So the next step is, I have picked out this little die. So it's lovely because it cuts your edge and it also gives you that nice little hold effect along the edge. So I'm just going to lay this down on the card. Now I'm going to go as high to the edge as I possibly can. And I'm happy with that. So just make sure that that edge isn't over that. Okay, and I'm going to maybe put a little bit of my repositional tape on it just to hold it when I'm running it through, just because I haven't got my magnetic plate on. And while I still have my big shot out, I'm going to cut out 3 of these little shapes. So if you look at the stamp set, this little shape actually corresponds to this little sprig here, but I'm going to use it as trees. So while I've got my big shot on the table, I'm going to cut 3 of these little shapes out. There's one. There's no point in lifting it on and off the table. And I also have already cut off camera this star. Now this star was out of the Bethlehem edits, and I've cut it out in gold foil. And that is all my die cutting done for this project. So my pieces, I'm just flicking out all the little loose bits from these little holes here. Okay, so the next step is we are going to emboss the greeting, which says, "May your days be merry and bright." So we're going to need to get my embossing stuff together. So that is my tray, my powder, my embossing buddy and my VersaMark. So you can see the shape of this greeting kind of curls around that edge there. Okay, so that's where we're going to place it. So just give it a wee wipe for static. Just put some VersaMark on our little greeting. And then I'm just going to use my grid paper again for lining this up. And set it down. Now you don't want to go too far to this edge because obviously some of this is going to be inside a mount. So don't go too far to that edge. Again, you could do this any color. You could do it the copper or the silver instead of the gold. Just depends what your favorite kind of metallic color is at Christmas time. I'll go and heat emboss this off camera. Okay, so you can see now that I have heat embossed that and it gives you that lovely gold embossed effect. Okay, so next step is then to bring this back and just have a look at it and see if you're happy with it. So I am pretty pleased with that. You can see all the light splashes that I have done on that. Just bring it up closer to the camera so you can see. And then the camera's maybe not picking it up, but then obviously because it's the shimmer paper, you can see like just a nice, very slight shimmery texture to it as well. So I am going to lay this face down. Obviously just be careful that your ink's not going to bleed back at it. I'm going to lay tape along here. And I'm going to do dimensionals along this curved ridge. And it means then that I can pop my wee trees in behind it. And the hills, the 3D part rather than the trees. But if you want your trees to be the 3D part, then just do it the opposite way. Just stick this straight down flat. Okay, move that one maybe. Okay. Okay, and take your tape off. So obviously some of this is going to be in behind a mount because I'm obviously doing this for a frame. So I'm using the IKEA frames, although IKEA have now discontinued them, but I do still have some old mounts lying around. So I know my aperture of my frame is roughly 4 3/4 inches. So I know I do have a bit of extra card here to play with. So I'm just going to lay this down. I know some of the card's going to be hidden, but I really want to get this nice blue hue in here in the background. So you can go as low or as high as you want. I might just go to there. Just make sure your edges meet. Okay. And press your edges down where you've got your dimensionals too. Okay, so that is that part done. Now I'm just going to add my 3 little wiggly trees and my star. Okay, so I'm just going to use normal Tombow wet glue for this, and I'm going to put mine at the top of the hill there, just standing in a little line. Just put the base of it just either meeting or just below the top of that line of card. You can have them all going down the hill or one at the top and then one just slightly staggered on either side. It's entirely up to you. You make that decision for yourself. Just pressing the card to the back, the base, just so I know exactly how far to put that down there. That is those 3. And then last but not least, my star. If you didn't want to use the gold foil, you could also use the gold glimmer paper. Give you a bit of sparkle. And that is that done. Mine is obviously very minimalist. I really do think less is more in some projects. And I really do just think it is so pretty. I just wanted the ink to really stand out here, you know, that nice kind of hue at night time. It really is a very effective technique and quite easy. If it is something that you like to get messy at doing, then this really is definitely a project for you. But I really do think it is a pretty project to be gifting someone at Christmas as well. If you wanted to kind of dicky it up a bit, you could maybe do a little gold bow in along your sentiment there. It really is up to you how little or how much more you put to it. But I really did enjoy this, and I don't mind getting my fingers inky and dirty when I'm crafting. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Bye bye.